Have you ever done everything right, gone through physical therapy, rested your foot, felt like things were finally getting better, and then a few months later, the pain came right back? If that's happened to you, the answer is almost always the same. The underlying habits didn't change. No matter how good the treatment is, if you keep putting the same stress on your foot every single day, you're taking one step forward and one step back. Today, we're fixing that. I'm going to walk through the specific daily habits that research has linked to plantar fasciitis and tell you exactly what to change. Some of these are going to seem almost too simple, but simple doesn't mean ineffective. Let me give you one realistic heads up first. Most cases of plantar fasciitis do resolve on their own within a year, but here's the part people don't talk about. 40% of people still have symptoms 2 years in. 2 years of heel pain, not because the treatment failed, because the habits stayed the same. So let's make sure you're in the 60%. Habit 1. Walking barefoot indoors. This one catches people off guard. Going barefoot at home feels natural, right? Hardwood floors, tile in the kitchen, the carpet in the bedroom. But for someone with plantar fasciitis, walking barefoot on hard surfaces is genuinely harmful. When you wear shoes, the cushioning absorbs impact. When you're barefoot, 100% of that force transfers directly into your plantar fascia. There's no buffer. Research guidelines are pretty direct about this. Avoid walking barefoot. The most dangerous moment? The very first step out of bed in the morning.
We covered this in episode 1. After 7 or 8 hours of sleep, that rubber band has been sitting loose and slack. The moment your foot hits the floor, it gets suddenly snapped into full tension. Doing that barefoot on a cold hardwood floor is the worst possible version of that moment. Tonight, before you go to sleep, put a pair of supportive shoes or slippers right next to your bed, the kind you can slip on immediately. That one change alone has made a noticeable difference for a lot of people. Habit 2. Footwear choices. Since we're talking about shoes, let's go deeper. 3 things to look for. First, cushioning. Press your thumb into the sole of your shoe. It should give a little. If it feels like pressing on concrete, that shoe is not protecting your plantar fascia. Second, arch support. The inside of your shoe should have a contoured shape that rises up to support the arch of your foot. A completely flat insole means your plantar fascia is doing all the work of maintaining your arch by itself, all day, every step. Third, heel drop. This one surprises people. Completely flat shoes, like some minimalist trainers or certain fashion sneakers, are actually not great for plantar fasciitis. On the other end, very high heels are obviously bad. High heels hold your calf muscles in a shortened position all day, which tightens them further. And we already know that tight calves are the #1 risk factor, with a 23x increased risk. A moderate heel drop of about ½ inch to 1 inch is ideal. Also, check when you last replaced your athletic shoes. The cushioning in running shoes breaks down long before the outer sole looks worn. A good guideline is to replace running shoes every 300 to 500 miles. If you run 3 miles a day, that's about every 4 months. Quick recap. Barefoot walking? Stop it, especially first thing in the morning. Footwear, cushioning, arch support, moderate heel drop. Old worn-out shoes? Replace them. Let's keep going. Habit 3. Body weight. I'll be straightforward about this one. The research is very clear. Having a BMI over 27 increases the risk of plantar fasciitis by 3.7 times. BMI over 30 increases it by 5.6 times. Here's the mechanical reason. When you walk, the force through your foot is 1.2 to 1.5 times your body weight. When you run, it can be up to 3 times. If you're carrying an extra 10 pounds, that's an extra 12 to 15 pounds of force per step. If you walk 8,000 steps a day, that's 8,000 repetitions of additional load on already damaged tissue, day after day. The flip side is equally true. Losing even 5 to 10 pounds can meaningfully reduce the load on your plantar fascia. Weight loss isn't just about appearance. For plantar fasciitis, it's legitimate treatment. Habit 4. Prolonged standing. People who spend the majority of their workday on their feet have 3.6 times the risk of plantar fasciitis. Nurses, teachers, retail workers, chefs, warehouse staff. If this is you, you can't change your job, but you can change how you manage your feet during the day. The key is micro-recovery. Every 60 to 90 minutes, find a way to sit for 5 to 10 minutes.
Even a short break gives your plantar fascia a chance to decompress. During those breaks, flex your ankle up and down a few times. Scrunch your toes and release them. These small movements improve circulation and help damaged tissue recover. If you're standing in one place for long periods, an anti-fatigue mat can make a real difference. You can find them online or in most home goods stores. They reduce the impact force on your feet significantly. Habit 5. Your morning routine. Here's a practical tip that can immediately reduce that first step pain. Before you even put your foot on the floor, while you're still lying in bed, do 20 to 30 ankle pumps. Flex your foot up toward your shin, then point it down. Up and down, 20 to 30 times. This gently warms up the plantar fascia while it's still in a safe, non-weight-bearing position. The rubber band gets gradually loaded instead of suddenly snapped. The difference is significant. After the ankle pumps, put on your supportive slippers, then stand up. Make this your morning sequence. Pump, slip on shoes, then stand. Habit 6. Icing and when to do it. Most people think of icing as a post-activity thing. You exercise, your foot hurts, you ice it. But research has found something interesting about timing. A study divided patients into 3 groups. One group did nothing. One group iced their foot for 20 minutes in the morning. One group iced their foot for 20 minutes before bed. The before bed group had dramatically better outcomes. 44% reduction in pain, 13% decrease in plantar fascia thickness, 86% improvement in pain-free force tolerance.
The morning group improved too, but not nearly as much. Why is bedtime icing so much more effective? When you ice before bed, you're reducing inflammation and constricting blood vessels right before several hours of rest and recovery. Your foot gets to heal overnight in a calmer, less inflamed state. Grab a bag of frozen peas or a gel ice pack. Wrap it in a thin cloth or dish towel and press it against the bottom of your heel for 20 minutes before bed. Never ice directly against skin. Always use a barrier. Final recap for today. Put supportive slippers next to your bed tonight. Check your shoes for cushioning, arch support, and heel drop. Replace worn athletic shoes. Losing even a little weight significantly reduces load on your feet. If you stand all day, take micro breaks every 60 to 90 minutes. Start every morning with 20 to 30 ankle pumps before you stand. Ice for 20 minutes before bed, not in the morning. Preview of episode 3. Next time, we're covering stretching. And here's the thing that surprised me when I read the research. A 2024 study compared a specific stretching routine against PRP injections. PRP is a procedure where they draw your blood, spin it in a centrifuge to concentrate the platelets, and inject it into your heel. It can cost anywhere from $500 to over $1,000 per injection. That expensive injection versus a free stretching routine. After 12 weeks, the outcomes were the same, and the stretching group had 0 relapses. The injection group had 4. I'll show you exactly how to do it in episode 3. Now, before you go, I want to be honest with you about something. The 6 habits we covered today, none of them are complicated. Slippers by the bed, better shoes, sitting down more often, ankle pumps in the morning, icing before bed. These are not revolutionary ideas. But here's what I've seen over and over again. People know what they're supposed to do. They just don't do it consistently. And with plantar fasciitis, inconsistency is what keeps you stuck. One bad morning, stepping barefoot onto a cold tile floor, that's not just one bad moment. That's potentially 2 steps backward after a week of progress. The plantar fascia doesn't forget. Every impact gets added to the total. Every protected step helps it recover. So if there's one thing I want you to take from today, it's this. Pick the one habit from this list that you know you're not doing right now, and start there. Just one. Tonight, put the slippers next to the bed. Tomorrow morning, do the ankle pumps. The week after, check your shoes. Small changes, done consistently, are what actually move the needle on this. Not the expensive treatments, not the gadgets, the daily stuff. If you have questions about any of this, drop them in the comments. I read through them and I'll do my best to answer. And if this video was useful, subscribing helps more people find this series, which means more people dealing with plantar fasciitis actually get the information they need. Episode 3 is coming soon. I'll see you there.